Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. Do you like arcade games? Do you like console games? Do you like computer games? Do you like handheld video games? Well, we play them all. Join me as we go back all the way to the beginning of December 1982. And we were last in Australia playing Bosk 1 Alert. So we're going everywhere. Let's see where we're going next. Our next game takes us to the Emerson Arcadia 2001 home console, and this is boxing. Boxing. We've seen boxing on other home consoles, but not here before. This one's the 25th game we've seen on the Emerson Arcadia 2001, or whatever you call it in other regions. The front of the box is pretty basic. I mean, the title is pretty basic too. Boxing, we've seen boxing on the APF Imagination Machine, boxing on the Enterton VC4000, boxing on the Atari VCS, boxing on the Intellivision. All the consoles are doing it, so Arcadia is going to do it too, right? Let's flip over the back and you can see it's not even real. It's not even a real box. It's all reconstructed. It's all fake. We have a couple screenshots that are down there, but I want to know if we have any actual scans for this game. Some of these titles on this home console are getting more obscure, so it's hard to find real scans of it. But there it is. This system is very similar to the Atari in that you have buttons for starting options and selecting things on the console itself, but then it also has very similar to the Intellivision and other number pad consoles. That's what the Emerson Arcadia 2001 is, and it is a cartridge we're going to be playing on for boxing. That's the screenshot. Let's see how to play the manual for boxing. This is fighting. Sports-based fighting is what we'd say too. The 9th time we've played any boxing video game. And this is the, we've seen games like Knockout and Golden Gloves for the Atari home computer, but the rest of the boxing games have been the stuff we've seen for home consoles. Here's the game instructions. You can see this is from a different region. It's tricky to find everything for the Emerson Arcadia 2001, but I'll take what we can get to actually see and play anything. There's a terrible picture of the screenshot. You can block the punch with your left arm, duck and deliver high right punch. Swar. It's a knockdown. The referee starts to count down, and it's a total knockout. Fight like Muhammad Ali. Choose your style of fighting and deliver your best punches to the throne of World Heavyweight Boxing Championship. This is a two-player game of boxing. Two-player game only. You cannot play by yourself. There's no computer to play against. That's all you get. And points are rewarded for the player who lands successive punches or knockdowns. And it shows you how to get started with inserting the cartridge. Make sure you insert to this line. It explains right here. Now, the hand controllers for this one are different because it's from a different region, at least the manual is. And there's a few consoles that we go to because we see everything all over the world. They're played on and have different nuances for the console depending on what region it's in. I believe this manual is the Australian version of this console, but don't quote me on that because sources for this console are harder to come by. And you also see it's not as popular. This is the 25th game we've seen so far. But here's what's amazing is we actually can use the joystick. Look, the joystick moves your boxer left and right, but then you have all these commands for ducking, high left feint, high punch, middle punch, low punch, ducking. So you have a lot of different options, and it kind of reminds me of the controls we saw on the Intellivision. The amount of movement you can have. Yes, and it's going to be definitely button mashers. The MPT-03 is what James says, and yes, that's what the name of the console was. So it explains start to play. You can choose what kind of person or boxer you want, a balanced boxer, offensive boxer, or a defensive boxer. So again, it's not as robust as the Intellivision boxing, but it still is pretty cool. So you start the game, both players on either side of the screen, and then they move in. Wait a second, it says to start the fight. Oh, you can switch between the right and left boxer standing at the corner. And then whenever you're ready, you have to push fight on both keypads. So you have to say you're ready. So it explains some guides to get close up to the scene. When a fighter's knocked down, what you should do. Start the count to come back up. So yeah, it's fairly simple for the games we've seen so far. So it's not going to do anything or break new ground, if that makes any sense. So you can start the new game pressing the clear, and then for some reason these manuals have an operation flow diagram. I'm not sure about that one either. Let's pop in that cartridge and play some boxing. This is by UA Limited at some time in the beginning of December 1982. Here's my Arcadia. It's not coming up now. There it is. Ah, it looks beautiful. So the game begins where you just are picking what kind of boxer you want. So I'm going to go with, for this one, let's do... And... C... And this one... I'm not hearing the sound effects either from this. Oh, I understand why. I remember. Let's try this a different way. I remember now. There's more than one way to play a boxing game, and I use several different emulators to play the title, so this is why we're getting a different one. All right, here we go. This would be it. That's it, yes. All right, so you start off by choosing your boxer. Easier said than done. All right, so I want to go to the balance boxer on the left side, and then I want to do a... offensive boxer on the right side, and then we should do there. Nice. So it begins with us in either one of our corners, shows us the round, and then what score we have for each side. So the reason why this is tricky is, first, I had to find a correct emulator. We're using Win Arcadia to play this. The second thing that's tricky about this is you have to have two people to play, and since I don't have two people, I'm having to manage both controllers for the Emerson Arcadia 2001 and then go into the game. All right, so here we go. We want to say we're ready for both, and there. Both boxers move in, and now we can move left and right. I'm controlling both the blue boxer on the right and the red boxer on the left. And so the controls are, that's all you can do with the joystick is move left and right. And then you're mashing everything you can on the keypad to show the different things or different heights. Look at that. He has really janky arms for the blue guy. And every time you make a blow or a correct hit, then you're getting some points for it. But you have so many different options. You even have, there's duck. You even have fake a punch, I believe. Let me try fake. Yeah, there it is. So the controls remind me a little bit of the Intellivision boxing, but this one is even more obscure just because of how they lay it out on the number pad. There's also no overlay, at least not to my knowledge. So you have to use the manual or memorize where all the numbers are, or just mash the numbers. Use that numpad and mash as many as you can and see just what happens. That was a really strong hit. And then if I wanted to switch to the other side, you can see he's going from... that low blow looks really, really janky. But we've come a long way, because one of the first boxings we ever saw was on the APF Imagination Machine, and this one looks much better than that. I'm still impressed by the Intellivision version of boxing, because of the perspective. This one, all I can do is move left and right, so it's only on one plane. I'm not able to move around the arena very much. Oh, and then we go back to our corners. The time's up. Go back to your corner. Take a little break. That's it, just like a boxing match. And then whenever you say you're ready, you go in again. And both players have to say they are ready, and then they go in for the fight after that. Yeah, Marshall brings up the Intellivision crowd sounds. It does kind of sound like that, too. So this harkens back to you have to have two people to play, so it feels a little strange going in with the game that doesn't have a way to play against the computer. Even on the APF Imagination Machine, that boxing had a mode where you could choose not just a computer, but a difficulty for the computer. There was a lot to be desired, though, with that version. And of course, the Atari one, I would say, is still much more playable when you think of the boxing games you could play on home consoles. It is so much fun. The top-down view that it has, giving one boxer all the points. So this one's just more based on your timing and placing the right blow at the right time. So it's a little bit slower paced than the other games. I've been marking these style of games as sports-based fighting games, because this is like the beginning of the fighting genre, the one-on-one fighting video games. Yeah, Brad's bringing up the Atari one. Much rather be playing something like that. This one would take a little bit of time to get used to. Plus, you're just going to be mashing the buttons to figure out which ones are the rock, paper, scissors version, you know, of which punch will land the right blow. So this one is impressive, though. It is on only on a 4 kilobyte cartridge. 4 kilopower. And then we'll go back to our sides on that other end like that. And there we go. That's what we'll do for our quick taste of boxing on the Emerson Arcadia 2001. And I would say of all the games you could play on all home consoles right now, this one is middling. It's still somewhere around the average range. I don't know if I want to call it bad. It is slower paced, but it doesn't have as many features as some of the other games we've seen for other home consoles. Emerson Arcadia 2001, this console's kind of falling flat or falling behind all the other ones we've seen up to this point. I'm seeing from the chat, mostly averages from everyone else. So obviously I was playing it with myself. You're going to find more enjoyment when you play with another person. But you have to remember, your joystick on this console was just going left and right to move, and then everything else was happening on the number pad. But I get mostly 2.5s to 3s. Punk Rock's giving it 3.5 stars. James is 2.5 to 3. Yeah, not really sure unless you play it yourself. I understand that. I'm thinking around 2.5 to 3 stars as well. The slower paced gameplay and not as many options, I'm going to go 2.5 stars. I wouldn't still call it bad, but I'll still say somewhere around the average range for everything you could play on all home consoles right now. But we're not done. Let's see what our next game is. It's still on the Emerson Arcadia 2001, or the Bandai Arcadia if you're in Japan. This is Brain Quiz. Let's check out Brain Quiz. This one, I don't know what they're doing with the front of the box. Can anyone make that out? It looks like we have a skeleton, someone, numbers, death, colors, enter. It's a really bad scan because most of these boxes, it's hard to come by an original, actual scan. This one's the 26th game we've seen on the Arcadia 2001 by Emerson. And you flip it over the back, it's still a reconstructed one, not an actual scan. But it's got several different games included in this one. Mindbreaker, Maxit, and a few others that we'll see. Oh yeah, we'll see different ways to play puzzle games we've seen before. Do we have anything else for Brain Quiz? It has several games in one. Most of them, I don't even know if it's going to be using the joystick. But it is a cartridge that you pop into your computer or to your console to play. Let's check out Brain Quiz. This is by Emerson, again, beginning of December 1982. It is technically a compilation because you have several games in one. It's the 140th video game we played that's a compilation game. Whoa, it's epic when you want to switch between Mindbreaker 1, Maxit, Hangman, or I think you could do Mindbreaker 2. So, oh, we even have a Hangman game. That's nice. So this is several sort of puzzle games. This one is a version of Mind Master or Mastermind that we've seen before, where you're trying to guess the numbers. Maxit, we've only seen a few of these. This is the 6th time we've seen a Maxit video game. It's based on a board game where you're supposed to pick the most numbers on each row or column. And then Hangman, I mean, this is the 14th time we've seen Hangman here on the show. Of all the games we've seen up to this point, and there would have been a lot more if we did mainframe games, which we didn't even do that. But I like the sound effects they're using while we're switching between each one. That's nice. All right, so let's just check out and see what Maxit's like. Let's start with this one. So I believe this one is only single player. So if I move around the screen, yeah, there it is. The joystick doesn't work. This is all happening on the number pad. Why? They have a cursor even on the top. But it doesn't work. But you pick a number, and then the computer's going to think about their number, but they have to base it on the same column that you're on. All right, so let's go see if we can pick another higher one on our side. Let's go with 4. And then they're going to pick one that's based on the same column, and then we have to go on the same row, I believe, right? Yeah. After that. Looks like we have mostly 2s, so that's easy. But you just go back and forth trying to collect as many points as you can based on the limitations, row or column. And that's pretty much how Maxit is. Why would they choose to do it all on the number pad, though? I don't know. That's a weird one. All right, can we do a reset? Give me, nope, can't do it that way, so we'll do it this way. We'll just rip the cartridge out and pop it back in. I really want to see something crazy or strange with Hangman, because here we've seen a lot of weird Hangmans. And did they do anything fun? Anything strange? All right, so enter. Oh, weird. You can do a 2-player Hangman. So everyone leave the room while I put in the word. And then... Oh, I can spell... You spell it out? You do. That's so bizarre. Making a non-real word. Will that even work? That's crazy. Okay, so it's a 2-player Hangman. Player 2 enters the word, and then player 1 guesses the word, and then hangs it after that. Okay, so I guess we could have just done this option. Then the other one was Mindbreaker, and I think it's Mindbreaker 1 or 2. Yeah, it's just entering the numbers. So it's just a version of Mastermind, but that's what you have. You have these three games, part of Brain Quiz. Reminds me of a few of the other titles we saw on the Atari, Odyssey 2, and Intellivision that had a compilation of small brain games like this, but Brain Quiz isn't even a quiz game at all. This is all that we have for the game. So very bizarre use of not using the joystick. I'm actually going to say because of the content, it's not even a very good title for a compilation. Looking over in the chat, yeah, I know Charlie's saying, wow. I say, yes, wow. Why is this released right now? It doesn't feel like it fits. It feels like it's going to be thrown in the bargain bin too soon. Mostly I see two stars from the live chat. 1.5. Punk Rock saying 1.5. It could be broken, but it won't be. I won't be that unkind. You might have a little bit of enjoyment, but I'll say 2 stars. Jeremiah's thrown out 2.5. There we go. Yeah. It does feel like public domain, Marshall. Like it shouldn't be an official title or commercial title. Some people have said that this show should only do commercial releases, only things that are legitimate releases. And that's kind of what I did back in 1980, 1981. But here in 1982, we've started doing every single video game. So whether it's an official commercial release, even some type-in games, we are making sure there's no game left behind. And with that, let's see what our next game is. It's time to go to the arcade and play Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. Can you imagine being in the arcade and being the first person to play the arcade cabinet? I'm sure the operator, you know, whoever sets up the arcade played it first, but can you imagine being the very first one who ever saw this arcade cabinet? That would be so cool. Let's take a look at the advertisement flyer for Buck Rogers. This is the very first official Buck Rogers video game that we've seen so far in all of video gamedom. You must see and hear Buck Rogers to believe it. Player reaction is an experience you'll never forget. Call your Sega distributor now and buy a piece of the 25th century. Yeah, because it's based on the movie, TV show. It's based on something that I'm not a huge Buck Rogers fan, so I know that it was something that was happening right now. Everyone's all-time superhero makes a super video game. Buck Rogers. And here's some examples of the arcade cabinet. This is the 567th arcade game we've seen so far on Chronologically Gaming. There's so much arcade that's out there. And this is the upright arcade cabinet. Yeah, the highlight tonight. If you were a fan of Buck Rogers, this is so cool. And even if you're not, this game is amazing. And this is the one that I would like. If I was going to go to the arcade right now, this is the one I want to play on. Very similar to when we saw pole position, the sit-down cabinet is where it's at. Yeah, your quarter would be gone so quick. There's the example of the arcade PCB and the control panel. So whether you have the sit-down or the upright cabinet, you're going to be using an 8-way digital joystick with a trigger stick. And you can see some of them have the trigger stick with the trigger on the stick, but the other have the fire button. And then you have a fast and slow button for your craft. So you can speed up or slow down. And then we have the how to play. You're in the command pilot of a remote-controlled spaceship. Wait, so Buck Rogers isn't in the spaceship? I always thought he was. You always learn something here on Chronologically Gaming. There's the arcade marquee and some artwork for Buck Rogers. There he is. We're not going to be shooting any pistols, though. It's all taking place on the spaceship. All right, so here you go. This is the manual for Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. Wow, even the operator manual has some excellent artwork. That's fantastic. So this is by Sega. Sega Enterprise. This is the 43rd video game we've seen by Sega on all systems, all platforms. Not Sega Gremlin, just Sega Enterprise. This is the 40th video game they've done in the arcade so far. There's only one game they've done on the Atari 2600 and 2 games on the ColecoVision. Everything else has been in the arcade. This was originally done by Hideki Ishikawa. And it was called Zoom 909 that we saw on the show. So the original programmer did that one. That programmer will eventually do a game called Flicky, and he also will do some later character designs. So this manual, I don't know what they're going to explain. I really wish I have more artwork like this, because that's really, really slick. This is the owner's manual. Here on Chronologically Gaming, we don't assemble any arcade cabinets. We don't go into the extremely technical nitty-gritty. We just care about the games. So here we go. They're going to tell us it's a microprocessor-based coin-operated electronic game. Yes, we know Sega. They usually do that. It doesn't explain anything there. I want to know about how to play the game. I have some other notes. And then the game concept. Yes, flying skills and targeting accuracy must be honed to a fine edge as you take command of Earth's last remaining hope of defense. Responsive 8-way joystick in hand, excitement is the name of the game as the Buck Rogers and all of us pilots a remote-controlled spacecraft through the planet of Zoom. The Buck Rogers and all of us. See, I can't make this stuff up. In the 25th century, Buck Rogers is confronted by a wicked warrior world, the planet of Zoom. It is a gargantuan out-of-orbit world that devastates everything in its path and is ruled by an evil source ship. Buck Rogers' mission is destroy the source ship and liberate the planet of Zoom before it reaches Earth. That's pretty good. For lore in the operator's manual, and there's even a little bit more, explaining what the different levels are, speed control, and then boasting the fantastic gameplay graphics, stereo sound effects, intense action, unique player controls, 3 to 6 extra ships if you mess with the dip switches in the back, and then it has the score with pictures. That's pretty rare. So Sega went all out, at least here in the version in North America. That's awesome. And then we have the dip switches and options selections in the back. But we don't need to go through all that. Let's go to the arcade and play Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom by Sega. It's the beginning of December 1982. When this exactly released in December, I just know it could have been end of November. And then, of course, there's some sources where Buck Rogers is 1983. And I mentioned this, when we got to December, some of these titles are going to be re-released or have different versions in 1983 as well. But just bask in that. This right here is so cool, that this game, how this game looks. Buck Rogers, Planet of Zoom. This is the ultimate in graphics right now. Cutting-edge video game. That's what this is. So we call these video games chase view rail shooters. This is the 7th time we played a video game that's doing what this is. Very first one we saw was Space Encounters by Midway. Explorer by Data East is another one. And then when Zaxxon was ported to the Atari 2600, it kind of looked and played similar to this stuff. And then Rougian was another one we saw that had this mode. And then the Force that we saw recently on the TRS-80 color computer is a poor man's version of a chase view rail shooter. And also, check out the super scaling effects. All right, I got to put a coin in. And let's go. And die. I don't think I died that fast on Zoom 909. Let me get my speed controls here, because you do have speed up and speed down. There's my quarter. That is the fastest I've ever done any of my playtests for this game. I don't believe how quick that I died. We put in our initials, and yes, this will take all of our quarters. Resume. Oh, that's right. And this one has the continue. Go. This. I think this is cranked up on one of the harder difficulties, but you can keep playing as long as you have enough cash. Let me slow us down, maybe. There we go. There's a little drift coming back to the middle. Just a little bit. We got some missiles that are flying in too, but you have a lot more freedom to fly on this area around the top of the screen. Whenever you get into the trenches, you can only go so far. But it's an auto fire. You don't have to continue to push fire. It's just going to fire itself off. And I have this right here. This is like proto super scalar technology. We're going to see this just get better and better. And what's great is Namco and Sega are going to be fighting over who has the better technology and who's going to make the better game in the arcade. And we're going to see it all. So we've already seen a little bit. That's a lot better showing than the last time. One of the very first ones we saw was a game called Subrock 3D that used stereoscopic 3D, and then Turbo was another one that was even more of a beginning version of this kind of technology, and then it's just going to take off. We're going to see games later just get better and improve on this. But this is the very beginning of it, and this is one of the very first ones that was as impressive. Subrock 3D had this, but it was trying to do more of the stereoscopic 3D rather than just give you super scaling sprites like this. This one is awesome. Look at that. Oh, you can even see this like stretch of the sprites as they come even closer. And at this point, we have not seen, for example, the Star Wars arcade game, the vector-based arcade game, the one that talks to you. We'll see that one, I think sometime around 1983. I think it's right before the summer '83 when that comes out, but we'll see whenever it happens. I'm thinking of the future, but right now there is really not too much games you can compare this to other than the titles I brought up. Can anyone think of any other games that compare to this experience, playing a video game like this with everything flying at you like this? Gosh, and it is action-packed. And I just want to keep going. Just go. Put in a blanks. Just go. Let's do it. This will be ported several times, several different systems. We've already seen the first version of it, Zoom 909 in the arcade, and we're going to be seeing this on lots of home computers, but it's got different enemy types. Look at this. It even reminds me, gosh, thinking of the future again, of Space Harrier. It's like the very beginning of them doing anything like this, and this is what it was first. Giving you a whole new experience. Ooh, the boss, blow up each side. Don't die. If I can get this one, there it is. And there. And then take him out. Wow. Nice play. Go on. There's so much to dodge. I can bring my speed around too. I think I cranked it up again too fast. That's awesome. Oh, and Curtis brings up Afterburner too. See, I know everyone that knows the future is just going to think of all the games that show up in the future. Notice that when I put the coin in to continue, it brought me right back where I left off, and I smashed into a wall. That's really crazy. Every time you click the trigger stick or the fire button, you fire off two shots each time. Over time, the more shooters we played, it feels like we're getting more and more overpowered with our shots. Because thinking back to some of the first ones, like Space Invaders was based on shooting gallery, and so we were only able to fire one shot at a time, and that's what a lot of the other games did. And now it's more and more firepower, and it's awesome. Bring it on. Look at this, all these different enemy types. Okay, speed it up. Max it out. Now, can I go do speed 99 and still survive? It's those missiles. When you start to go fast, it's really hard to keep track of them. Wow. So good. And you can just keep going. Look at this. And the high score is still going. It's saving. So if you got the money, wait, this isn't just pay to play. This is like pay to get the high score. It's saving where I left off. Yeah, go. And keeping the score going. So if you're one of those kids where your mom gave you, $20 to burn at the arcade, then yes, you could get the high score in Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. Oh, there we go. Brad's bringing up the Laserdisc games. Next year, in 1983, we're going to get the first biggest one, Dragon's Lair. We haven't seen that yet. That's not out yet. But yes, Astron Belt is another one that's very similar to this. But that one was using, the video background. This one's all programmed. Yeah, Charlie's seeing it. Look at that high score table. I need to look at the dip switches that I set for this, because that can't be the stock way that the game would play. That would make no sense for you to just continue to keep playing and putting in higher and higher scores. There was a few other versions that I did see on MAME where you can do a unprotected version, and then they usually have versions 1 and 2. Boom! We knocked him out so fast. Nice play. Go on. I know, we got so much that's going to be coming up after the golden age of arcade games. We saw Black Widow just a few episodes ago, and that one still is an excellent game. Holds up today and gives you those feels of a great score attack game. This one is doing multiple enemies, levels, like it's slowly changing the game a little bit, so it's keeping it fresh, which is really nice. Let's go on. Something about the game's making me want to put more and more quarters in. Something else I need to point out is it's December 1982, and we're once again playing a video game, or a shooter video game, that is not giving us a power-up to increase our shot. It's the same shot. We still haven't seen a shooter with an effective power-up system yet. I feel it coming. It's got to be coming around the corner sometime. But I mentioned this is a chase view rail shooter, but we played almost 200 shoot-'em-ups. And that doesn't even include like the thick shooters, the Galaxian variants, the Astro Invaders, all those shoot-'em-ups. We still haven't had something that has an effective power-up system. It's the same shot every time. This one's more about your timing, the enemies on the screen, making sure you move your craft out of the way. And you see we have palette swapped colors for the walls here. Whoa, whoa. I need to slow myself down. There we go. Just a little bit. And right when I slow myself down, I smash. Look at this. The high score is still going. All right, someone needs to look into that one. That's a really funny one. And we just could keep going and keep playing Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom all night long and keep getting the high score. That is so cool. Yeah, so that's a good point. Later on, we're going to get ports of this game, and this arcade game, the way this plays and responds, especially if you have a sit-down cabinet to experience this is awesome. This is an exceptional game. Of all the games you could play in the arcade right now, this one's awesome. The only reason I would probably not give this one a top-tier 5-star rating is just because of the repetitive nature of it. The technology behind this one, though, is through the charts. So I'm looking in the chat. I got a 4.5. I'm thinking 4.5 too for Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom. It doesn't have as much replayability, especially if this really is how the high score works. But the continue feature to continue to keep going is awesome. Punk Rock saying 5. Couldn't say in Zoom 909 was 4.5, so make it 4.5. Yeah, and I feel the same way. I'm going to say the same I did for Zoom 909. Brian's saying 5. Curtis is saying 4.5. Yeah, it's still one of the best games you could play right now in the arcade right now, but I won't give it the top rating. I'll say 4.5 stars. Yeah, and the flying saucers, everything flying at you is so cool. It's a lot of fun. That is a blast. All right, now we got to put the video game playing on pause. I'm going to keep pumping quarters into that cabinet until the high score just maxes out. We might as well if that's the case. I really want to know if that's true or not, but we have lots more gaming to go. Next time on Chronologically Gaming, we have caterpillars and centipedes on our home computers, and Captain Cosmo shows us how to fly like Superman on the Atari 800. That's it for today, and like I always say, I'm not just a visitor out of another place. I'm out of another time. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.